What is up, DTube Steem blockchain? So, very interesting day to be honest, especially if you've been following uh, crypto Twitter and all the stuff about Steem blockchain and the witness situation with the sock puppets. Yeah, I mean, really interesting day. So, at the moment, when I last checked, there were 5 real Steam witnesses that was back in the top 20 list. And the interesting aspect about that is, I think if you have uh, 4 witnesses in the top 20, or is maybe 5, I think it's 4, then you can basically prevent a hard fork change. So yeah, 5 are in right now, but I think there is still 15 sock puppet accounts. But they have around, or I'm not sure how to say that in terms of votes. I think it was 138 million or something like that, 140 million on each now. And there are a few other witnesses that may get in. So there was also this other thing with Steemit Inc. I think around 4 people resigned today, which was weird. Yeah, I think they did it out of protest because they did not like what was sort of going on. So it's a really interesting day to observe the crypto space and the decentralized movement. It's like not every day, like most days are pretty calm and nothing is really happening. And then you get these days, maybe once or maybe 2 events per year or something like that. That's like huge. And this was kind of one of them where it's really interesting to see how people respond, how Steam community responds, how news reporters responds, and especially great work from CoinDesk. They wrote some amazing pieces, some amazing journalism about what was going on with Steem, and was very informative. It was not just like super short. It was really, you saw that they really cared and had put in some great work. So amazing that CoinDesk did that. I think they also did similar work in the past. Now, Cointelegraph, they also wrote a piece, which is great. It was not as good, but it's nice that they are also sort of starting to pay attention a little bit to this situation that's kind of unique in crypto history, where centralized exchanges are working together to use their users' funds to try to take over a decentralized blockchain and lock up their users' funds for 13 weeks. Yeah, it's like, wow. So it's really interesting now when so what was happening was there was one account, I think it's called HKDev 404 or maybe something like that. That so what happened was when these sock puppet accounts took over, they basically set one account as a proxy. So they took the Steem, all the power from Mr. Delegation that had around, what is it, like 19 million Steem or something like that. And then they took all the power from the main Steemit account, which has 29 million Steem, and they used that Ninja Mind stake and they set it as a proxy for one of these sock puppet accounts that they voted in more sock puppets account with, just because one account I think can vote for 13 witnesses, so the sock puppets can basically like vote for themselves. So I'm not really sure how this is gonna play out, to be honest. Like, I did a video yesterday talking a little bit about the Binance situation and their involvement in this. And I was surprised that they took away their votes. I did not think they would do it as quick, but they kind of did. So now, like, the sock puppets doesn't look that impressive anymore. And if Binance wouldn't have took away their votes, and I think also Huobi also took away their votes, If they wouldn't have done that, I don't think we would have in 5 real Steem witnesses at the moment. So that's kind of interesting. So, but they still Binance. So it's nice that Binance did that. That they unvoted. It's nice because I did a video about it yesterday. I did not think that, and it also got 70 views, which I was kind of surprised about. I did not think it would get that many views because I did not promote it. So it's nice that Binance did something. They still run into issues, though, of course, with, I think they powered up around 30 million Steem. So they only have around 100k liquid Steem at the moment. So if you try to withdraw Steem on their exchange, if you had it there, it's probably not going to work. And just because they can't do a hard fork right now, just because I think they need to, just because they remove the votes, now real Steem witnesses can't come in, so they can't do this hard fork. So the power down is now still going to be 13 weeks, and they haven't even started it. So it's like you end up in this weird situation where you have all this Steem locked up. And it would be a little bit hard. Like, it would be strange if they went back now, and sort of if they went back and voted again, that would look even worse probably. So it doesn't seem like a hard fork is gonna happen. Yeah, it's like, and then you also have this interesting situation of, let's say the sock puppets would gain power again. I'm not really sure how. I mean, they still have a lot of power, the sock puppets, just because they use the Ninja Mind stake. Like, that's where all their power comes from. But in theory, let's say they would get back all the power. If they then would try to, if they want to remove this Ninja Mind stake from Steem and maybe move it to a centralized exchange, at the moment they would do that, they would lose influence over the witnesses that they would control, because when they power down, they have less Steem available to vote for witnesses, and then more real witnesses can come in, and if they get more power, then they can sort of regain control over things. And it looks like a parody. Like, if you look at the top witnesses, and you see like the elected witnesses by the community, they have like 10,000 votes, but all these sock puppet accounts have like 30 or 50 votes. It's just weird. It doesn't look good at all for the sock puppets. So, I mean, yeah, if they would, even if they would get power back over all the witnesses, they still run into this complex issue of, just because all the power basically relies on the Ninja Mind stake. And yeah, you can buy up some Steem. So I saw they called me Dan. He was basically, they called me Dan on Steem blockchain. He was buying up the only Steem that's kind of left, which is the Bittrex Steem. Maybe there was some. Yeah, Bittrex has some Steem. Binance has locked up all their 30 million Steem. Huobi has locked up 8 million Steem, I think. So that I saw from Penguin Pablo's statistics update. Poloniex have kind of locked up 2 million Steem. I still think Poloniex is voting, actually. So Huobi and Binance seems like they removed their votes, but I still think Poloniex is voting with their 2 million Steem. But then it's like, yeah, it is kind of like an interesting day in crypto history, where you see one entity tries to gain control over the whole chain by creating a ton of sock puppets, and then you have this super weird situation because everything's like visible on Steem blockchain, so you sort of see when people moving funds around, and it sort of still looks like the centralized exchanges that was a part of this kind of got paid for what they did. Because you can see it, like 4 million Steem kind of went to Binance. I think around 1.5 million Steem or something like that maybe went to Huobi, or maybe it was 1 million. or maybe 500,000, and then Poloniex probably got their fair share also. So yeah, it's like, so even if the sock puppets would gain control again, like the moment the someone is like trying to do something with the Ninja Mine stake that has been on Steem since the beginning, the moment you sort of try to make large moves of that, then it's like, then you would get something happening with the witness situation. So it would influence it so much. So yeah, I mean, it's like moving a lot of value on Steem, especially when it's like 60 million Steem, it's not as easy. It's not as easy to move like large volume of anything around. I give an example. I think around 1% of Bitcoin is like 200,000 Bitcoin or something like that. Now, I'm not sure if that's 100% perfect math. I'm going to see. So I'm going to do some math here. So we have 18 million Bitcoins. So just to move 1%, that's 180,000 BTC. Now, if someone is moving 180,000 BTC, that can influence so much. And let's say we have 350 million Steem. Let's just round it to that. 1% would be 3.5 million, okay? So that would be like 200k Bitcoin. But this volume that we are talking about is like, it's like almost 20%. This Ninja Mine stake is like 20% of all Steem. That's a big deal. That is like, that's like, let's say with Bitcoin, if we count on 18 million Bitcoins, 20%, that's 3.6 million Bitcoin. If you would move, if you would try to move 3.6 million Bitcoin, I mean, it's just, it's so hard to move something like that around. Like, maybe the largest people have tried to move around is a few 100k, max, 3.6 million. And it's like, to move any 20% of any network around, it's probably going to be extremely complex, especially decentralized networks. So it's going to be interesting to sort of follow this the upcoming days, because you really learn a lot about decentralized communities. You see who cares, who doesn't care, and it's like, yeah, it's very interesting. So I'm not really sure what's gonna happen with the Ninja Mine stake. I really have no idea. But I know that this day is kind of interesting. I did not think so many Steemians would come together and like care, but they actually did. So yeah, it's really interesting, to be honest. Especially even if you've been on Steem for a couple of years, usually I don't think you had this big turn up of people. Steemians basically run crypto Twitter. Maybe the last time there was something big like this, but that was only maybe a little bit on Steem comments. It was when DLive sort of left. And it's really interesting that was kind of like the last time something big happened, because Tron, I think, kind of bought DLive as well. Yeah, they kind of bought it. And if you go look at DLive, it's like pre-mined, and yeah, it's just weird. It's such a weird situation. So 5 real Steem witnesses in to the top 20s. Really interesting, to be honest. Interesting to see, as I said, that some news websites, some crypto websites actually was taking it up. I think around maybe 5 or 6 have been doing that right now, which I think is pretty good. That's a pretty big chunk of the crypto pages The only one that I did not see post anything was the CCN kind of page. Yeah, so it was a very hectic day, especially with so many people that just stopped working for Steem Inc. I'm not even sure who is still working there. It's kind of weird. Um, and a lot of this drama, like it really comes back to the root of how Steem it got started, the Ninja Mind stake, and that a lot of stuff also including witnesses, they learn a lot now. They learned that centralized exchanges, if you allow them to hold people's coins, they can do crazy stuff with it. You know, so I think it's really gonna maybe change crypto in some ways in the future. People are gonna be more woke to that scenario. And I also think that people have learned a little bit more about that other people can turn up, other people can really have massive influence. Because it's like, because you don't know how much influence you have as a person, but then you can see, like, if you make like a video about something and then you see that, you know, that company is changing the way they were looking at things, it's like, at some point, you must have played a little bit of a role in it, you know, to like influence how they are looking at things. So that's also very, very interesting. It's also very interesting that this is just with a few thousand people on the Steem blockchain. Like, imagine when these networks are like millions of people, and when they have even better technology access to it, it's gonna be really, really interesting to see how that's gonna play out. A big part of this, I think, is going to be very hard in the future to try to take over something completely, because first it looked like it would be kind of easy to take over Steem, but now it looks like it may not be so easy, because with Steem it's like you have so many real humans involved, and when you have like real humans in real life and people are earning and people are using it as a real financial instruments, and they depend on something and they've been using something for many years, it's like it's kind of hard to take that over and like just change it, you know, because a lot of people depend on it, a lot of people are using something. So very interesting to see this also from a global politics level, because in a way I think Steem is like a game of crypto, or like a miniature version of real politics. It's just that everything is like speeded up 1,000 times, I feel, with crypto, where so much stuff can like happen in a day and you can learn so much stuff in a day, while with other politics it's like it's usually the same thing but it's just slower. But just because people now have access to more real-time communication and people can get data, like get updated data so much faster, everything is just speeded up, and people can learn so much quicker and expand their borders of ignorance much faster. So yeah, it's an interesting day in crypto history. If there was any other network, maybe a so-called Steemit killer, it would be so easy to take it over, you know, it would happen so quick. But in this case, it's like, you know, it's not as easy. It's very like David and Goliath situation that you're running into here. So I think many people are on Steem blockchain also because a part of them sort of realized that Steem is a little bit of a different beast than many other networks. Like how many would be willing to like stand up for Facebook? How many would be willing to like defend like Twitter if some new person acquired it or whatever? You know, it's just different. It's just different with Steem. So nobody knows still how this is gonna play out. but when you're looking at it, that most of it comes down to the Ninja Mine stake. Most comes down to that stake. It's really interesting. Yeah, so that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. So yeah, 5 real witnesses back in top 20. Really, really interesting. I did not think it would happen that fast, to be honest. Uh, Even with the two exchanges removing their votes, you did not think that it would, on like already on day 2, that you would have 5 witnesses in. It's really interesting. So it's gonna be interesting to keep on following this and like see how it goes. Uh, yeah. Have a great day, DTube and Steem blockchain. Bye bye.